It had seemed like a hostile atmosphere when Bambi had walked inside that bar in downtown Atlanta. No glam squad, no with a slipped-back hairstyle, a black power suit, and a cold stare that froze the whole room. He pretended to smile for the cameras. On the stage of VH1's reunion, the audience was not cheering for shade. This was unique. It was a private issue. She sat down in the center of the empty round table. As the mild sound of the restaurant outside bled, she tapped her manicured nails on the wood and pointed her phone down in front of her in the VIP section. Faintly through the door. She had no desire to find solutions. She was there for clarity. If she didn't understand, she was departing with more fervor than she had brought in. After a few minutes, the door opened, and Erica Dixon came in as if she was there for a photo shoot. Perfect hair with a pink bodycon dress. The curled lip gloss caught the warm overhead light. She seemed uneasy. She was not at all careful. She seemed ready to win. They didn't even try to say hello. Bambi arched an eyebrow and pointed to the chair across from her. Erica went into it slowly, crossing her legs as if she wanted to savor every second of being touched. They just stared at each other for a while. That they had been in silence for months due to unspoken accusations and camera-ready gloom. Then, Bambi leaned forward, her glass-cuttingly sharp yet low-pitched voice. "You're telling me that you didn't know at this point, correct?" Erica was unaware of blink. "No," she said firmly in response. "At this point, you stop holding me accountable for your husband's performance. You." The grin that followed wasn't meant to be friendly. Was meant to make Bambi laugh, but it was short and without comedy. "Husband. Please." "Oh, you're our business partner," he remarked, adding that he was more than just my husband. "You think I was unaware that you were cashing checks while I was keeping the cameras down?" "Into that dangerous silence," Erica remarked, leaning closer. "War is something only ladies who have been through it can cope with. Don't brag. I was the main narrative point, and you were the supporting one." The remarks were a smack in the face. But Bambi did not reach across the table, and even she had to squint for a time as the heat in her chest grew. Not just yet. Instead, she reached inside her handbag, pulled out her phone, touched the screen, and the music that filled the air wasn't a reunion tape or a rumor. Log. It was fresh. Scrappy's voice was unmistakably raw and unrefined. "Smile for the cameras as Bam breaks down. Better television is produced by it." The sound of the laughing on the tape was sufficient to lighten the mood and relieve tension. Erica's smile. She hesitated for a second, then leaned back and opened her own purse, said, "Cute," and unlocked her phone. "Want to hear mine?" A simple swipe adds another recording to the database. "Erica's stupid enough to think this is love," Bambi said to someone, her voice this time obviously annoyed. Allow her to fulfill her position. They could have been collecting each other's receipts for months or even years when it suddenly occurred to them both, without realizing it. But neither of them knew that this specific incident, their short bombing exchange, not going to stay in this room, tucked up in a corner a few feet away, acting like a production crew member. With a glass of wine in hand, Tasha K was on the other end of a young assistant's phone, broadcasting live and on speaker to a secret list of her Patreon fans. In a case like this, you served hot, and she had no intention of waiting until after the surgery. "Do you think this is funny?" Bambi crossed her arms and squinted her eyes. "Do you think you can use my marriage as a story point?" Erica tilted her head, and her gleaming smile returned. "You were the prop, not the producer, and it was a storyline, baby." The heat between them could almost be seen now, like if the air were throbbing. They had stopped touching their water glasses, and the sound of their chairs sliding on the floor was sharp and frightening. The corner assistant texted Tasha K. "It's going to happen." Bambi got up first, put her hands on the tea table, and leaned in close enough for Erica to smell her faintly. "Remember to say my name." "Bam," she whispered, evoking the word as if it were a challenge, and Erica didn't recoil. The thin thread of patience snapped at that very moment. Bambi's fingers were curled and her jaw was gritted when the floor scraped against her chair. Not quite yet, but she skipped lunch. But the room appeared to be tipping that way, as if the only thing standing between them was the unsaid. knowing that once the first step was made, there was no going back, and Tasha K was a long way off. She grinned as she looked at her wine glass, knowing that she had just had a glimpse of the type of storm that didn't just inclination, devouring whole careers. Bambi breathed softly and evenly, but her gaze remained focused on Erica Dixon as if evaluating her victim. There wasn't quite a silent moment between them. Rather, there was the silence that comes before glass shattered, and Erica shifted in her chair. Those lips that never stopped smiling, as if she were pressing Bambi to do an action that would not be undone. It's going to become violent. Tasha K received another quick message from the assistant in the corner. Tasha was sitting in her home office. On the other end, forgetting her drink, combing her hair, and leaning extremely near to the phone, all the while keeping the phone open, the desk. She knew that her supporters had been waiting for this. Bambi came forward once again, her hands on the table expanding and flat on knuckles. Despite the turmoil, you have been smiling at me and talking to me like we were professional women for years. While you were playing with him behind my back, Erica stayed still and just tapped her glass with one perfectly manicured nail. Bam! Don't alter the past. You knew exactly what it was. And I was fighting for time on camera, and I was fighting for my family. Bambi gave a quick, quiet laugh. He is the father of your child, not your savior, family. What about you? I was his future until you came begging for scraps. You were his cover. The term scraps reached Erica with a start, and she straightened her stance, her tone chilly. You talk with such boldness for someone who had to cry on national television to have a plot. Bambi smiled, but not in a humorous manner. It was dangerous. But at least I did not marry him for money and pity. The tension suddenly erupted. Repeat that, Erica screamed, slapping her hand down on the table as the water glasses shook. Bambi said, even terrible, without repeating herself. You were the biggest con artist in that man's life. Additionally, the fact that you can still appear as if you were ignorant of it just emphasizes how much more dishonest you are than the person who gave you checks. Erica's chair tilted back with a mechanical scream on the floor as she sprang up, and her grin disappeared as the words hit like open-handed slaps. The mood swiftly shifted from tense to frenzied, and the assistant stopped, wide-eyed. Bambi closed, the gap faster than the cameras could follow her as she walked around the table. She pulled Erica by the back of the head after reaching out and grabbing her hair in a fist. Please don't touch me, said Erica in a voice that was part scream and half swear. Bam! She said, snatching Bambi's wrists. Bambi's voice was fierce and poisonous, from every single word. If you bring up my marriage again, I'll make sure you're not allowed to talk about it at all. As the two women stumbled into the table, one of the water cups dropped to the ground and shattered into glittering pieces. Immediately, Bambi was moving again, pushing Erica back against the wall with enough force to cause the picture frame to shake as she pushed hard and broke free. The live broadcast shook as gasps broke out when the assistant's phone momentarily slipped out of their hands. Tasha K's comment section was a mess on the other end of her feed. Half of the crowd roared, "Let them fight!" and "Call security!" is written by the other half. When the door sprang open and two security officers came in, grabbing Bambi by the arms while shouting over their shoulders, "Tell them, Erica." She was still in disbelief. "Tell them how you sit." He started collecting deposits while I was defending him. With her hands trembling but her voice loud enough to be heard, Erica, who was now breathing hard, shook her hair and smoothed it down. "You're upset with me for surviving something you couldn't," she added, "handle. Please don't treat me badly. This isn't over." Bambi tried to get away from the guards, her shoes scuffing the floor. Erica straightened her clothes and scowled with a combination of pride and anger. "You think this is over?" "This is just the beginning, Bam." That one phrase resonated in a room full of people. The assistant had already uploaded the footage to a secret account by the time security dragged Bambi out the door. Folder and sent it to Tasha K within minutes. A revised version was clear enough to stay out of trouble with the law. In an effort to identify them, the hashtags rapidly surfaced in group discussions and on the gossip blog. DMS. Erica down. Bambi snaps. Sit down showdown. Tay didn't even wait for her usual moment of chaos, which featured chairs clattering, glass crashing, and two women's voices piercing through the clamor like sirens, despite the short video's 30 seconds. Editing. And they replied, "I create drama," when she uploaded the raw video with the caption to her members' private site. I respond, "They make my job too easy." The comments section went crazy. VH1's crisis team was already in a locked scenario, but this is better than the reunion. Erica swung first, while Bam waited for her to breathe properly. As the recording played in the conference room, one executive put down their pen. "If this gets out, we must cancel the season, because else they could blame each other." It's too late. They shook their heads and replied, "Tasha already understands." Social media wasn't the safest place to react, but it will be all over by tomorrow. Scrappy was outside the club in a quiet SUV, and he had been told to. A few minutes later, he had saw Erica go, head held high and phone clamped to her ear, her cheeks flushed and her lips stiff. He had driven there despite avoiding the meeting entirely, and had witnessed Bambi being carried away by security. Was not aware that Tasha K had the film, or that the assistant had been live broadcasting the whole affair, but his phone started, exploding with text messages that stated, "Check Patreon now." He knew that he had been in her car, that Bambi had already called her, and that she was now formally gone. "Lawyer," her voice was sharp and unyielding. "Her name will be included to the lawsuit. When you're done, do provide me the I'm requesting. An injunction, because I don't want VH1 to show the fight without my permission." "You were right, Mendez." Erica Dixon was also on the phone, but she wasn't accompanied by a lawyer. Speaking into the receiver, she whispered, "She's not here to speak, she's here to bury me. I'm curious whether you're still willing to talk about what you told me last month, since no one has Bambi thought she was going to fight Erica, as expected, and thought she was only defending herself. But they had both forgotten the one rule that rules their world. Every dispute has in Bambi didn't sleep that night, and the person pulling the strings was already editing part 2. Audience, and in this case, the audience was actively engaging on both sides rather than just viewing. Not because she was recreating the struggle in her mind, but rather because she kept getting calls from reporters she had never spoken to. She had already decided that the dispute was real. Diz even received a text from blogs she didn't follow, and from a former cast member she hadn't spoken to in years. "You went from being a hot issue to becoming the focus of a documentary, and I watched the video, girl." But the most crucial message came from her lawyer. Time-stamped 2:14 a.m. With only one sentence, VH1 had already sold the video. She pushed in as she sat up in bed, the room dark. That one sentence lingered in her mind. VH1 wasn't just going to air it, they wanted to make a mid-season episode out of it, which meant she moved in the dim light, swinging her legs off the bed, breathing steadily. But the advertisements, teasers, and reaction interviews suggested that the intimate conflict she had been tricked into would be packaged for maximum commercial advantage. They would soon learn that she was the finest player in the game, and even if they thought she would let them spin it without her watching, there was no doubting the burning in her chest. Erica Dixon, who was in her own storm across town, had experienced the moment Bambi grabbed her once again. Not because she wanted to relive the moment, the gossip bloggers had slowed down the film and examined every frame, with some claiming Bambi's lunge was spontaneous and others claiming she pushed first. Erica was referred to as the starter in half of the remarks and the victim in the other half. She was unable to stop the call from Tasha K at sunrise, despite having turned off the most of her notifications. "Erica," Tasha said, her voice slick, with that dangerous poise. Even if it's trending in 6 states, you haven't yet shared your thoughts." Erica hesitated. "I'm not sure whether I want to feed it." Tasha chuckled and said, "Oh, my dear, it's already fed. The only question is, do you want to watch them eat without you, or do you want the check?" Tashashi's issue was that she did more than just dangle drama. She was dangling the profit. Erica was listening, in spite of herself. Meanwhile, in order to avoid the press, Scrappy had spent the night in a friend's studio. And the growing online whirlpool. Alerts from his team were flooding his phone. "Don't post. Keep quiet. You don't even find anything appealing." However, he couldn't stop examining the hashtags. Bambi Snaps was seen by almost 2 million people. Erica was becoming very popular. Then the one that made him feel nauseous arrived. It was Scrappy who posted them. Somewhere the tale had shifted. People weren't just talking about the fight. They were accusing him of organizing it. He knew, in part, that they weren't entirely wrong. Around noon, VH1 called an emergency production meeting, but Atlanta was not a safe place to have it. They flew key executives and producers to New York to discuss damage control. One of the leaked emails that was already circulating said that a producer had told another, "If we put them in the same room, they'll take care of the rest." While PR was in a panic and legal was nervous, the showrunner was grinning. This is the biggest mid-season engagement we have ever had, if you divide it into 3 parts. Bambi's lawyer sent a Candace before lunch, but it was ignored. Milk it. Within hours, the network created a 30-second promotional video that showed Bambi slamming her hand on the table. Glass shatters, Erica stands up, and a producer's voice shouts, "Security," in the caption. When the comments read, "You thought the reunion was wild." People went nuts. "You still haven't seen anything. Is this the conflict? It's really being televised. Bam. About to make them declare bankruptcy." As the internet went into overdrive, Bambi was sliding a thick cloth in her lawyer's office. There's a manila envelope across the desk. Every email, text message, and production note I sent during the prior 3 seasons. Take a look at those where I was told to sit with her. Find the ones that I was told were off camera. This must be completely airtight. The lawyer nodded his head, looking through the papers. If this is what I think it is, they won't just settle, they'll bleed. But there were other conflicts brewing. Erica held a meeting after taking Tasha K's call. They were sitting at the back of a quiet restaurant, talking on their phones. Low. "I've got more," Tasha said, removing her iPad from the table. The Scrappy and a VH1 producer spoke about keeping Bam depressed until mid-season, when we wrap, in a new video that wasn't taken in the lounge but rather weeks before. The audio was not perfect, but it was enough to suggest that the network had heard about it. The configuration. Erica lifted her head from the TV, her lips parted. "What you're saying, were they hoping for a fight?" Tasha smiled. "I'm saying they needed you too." Then the weight of it came slowly to light. If she made that footage public, it would affect not only Bambio, but also VH1. Additionally, it required her to openly support Tasha, even if doing so made her seem to be the greater victim. It was a chance, but a chance that may alter the path of history. Bambi eventually mentioned Instagram in the late afternoon. Without any explanation or captions, a video shows her wearing a red power suit, large sunglasses, and a stack of paperwork in her hand as she enters the Fulton County Courthouse. The soundtrack retaliation meme features a sample of a song that has become a success. The comments ignited immediately. She is suing them all. Bam, getting ready to end careers. The color of blood is crimson. Erica went live that evening, not to be outdone. She was calmly enjoying a cup of tea while sitting in her living room. She said, "I'm not here to argue, first. I'm here to tell the truth," she said. Slowly and gradually, but just as the comments started to turn in her favor, she portrayed herself as someone caught in a web she didn't make. For 3 seconds, Bambi posted a hazy legal document on Instagram stories. Statements made by Bambi, the plaintiff Richardson, and the defendant, Erica Dixon, are hardly seen. The time was right for a purpose. Then came the sudden change in circumstances. Mendez has yet to speak. Showed a black screen with a white text. "You may not always be aware of your true self. Enemy is till the conflict is over." He didn't have a tag, but he didn't have to because of the statements. Theories were flying around. Did he think about Yandi? Was he? Suggesting that he knew the lounge better? Arrangement? And why had he been seen twice? Where was Bambi's case, filed days earlier in the same courtroom? By midnight, the fight had spread beyond Bambi, and Erica is no longer there. It was drawing in former partners, relationships between the whole ensemble and the producers. Moreover, Tasha's home workplace, Kay was altering her statement about what will Beto date, the most explosive dissent. With the accompanying caption, she hinted to the video, the quarrel started because of the wrong thing. The reel on Friday, the story will be made public. In the field of unreality TV, closure isn't real. There's the next big story. The next blockbuster, the betrayal that followed. Furthermore, when the sun rose. The next morning, one item over Atlanta was certain. Whatever Bambi and Erica thought they had moved into the living room, it was only the beginning of a big war. Enough to burn the whole set. Earn money the whole set down.